Monday, May 25th, 2025, MMAOB Daily Podcast. I am your host, as always, Adam Martin, co-host Big Marcel, and we have a third today for the threesome. We got our boy George, MMA Racks. George, we appreciate you coming on, man. You guys might have seen him. He was on Nick and Johnny's podcast last 2 weeks ago, I think, the MMA Gambler's Perspective, and that was awesome. I know you, that was a great experience for you. But the thing is with George, like, he's been listening to the podcast for a few years. We actually used to work together at GDC. He's not there anymore, but obviously, I'm sure people that listen to the podcast actually see you all the time in the MMA Junkie comments for the weigh-ins, because that's where I see you. You're always fucking in there, man. So, anyways, George, introduce yourself to the people. I get this all set up.
Yeah, well, I'm honored you guys would have me. I've listened to the show literally every week for several years now. You guys and the Chillin' and Duffy show over at Sherdog are the two religious listening experiences for me every card. So it's obviously, like Adam said, we were co-workers in a certain capacity for a little bit a while back. So we had made the connection there before, but this is my first time meeting Marcel. And, I got to tell you, man, like in the current age that we're in, where it's like report first, verify later, I'm so grateful to you, Marcel, for like building yourself up as a like pillar of credibility in this space. It's really, really cool. And I think that you've mentioned before that like you didn't really have a lot of prior journalism experience before you got into doing this. I think you had said you were just doing like delivery stuff or whatever before. So the fact that you've made yourself into somebody that everybody in the space looks at as like, I don't believe it's happening until Marcel says it does. You're a really inspiring dude, man. I hope that you know that. So I wanted to take the time to, give you your flowers and make sure that you knew that. It's surreal for me to be talking to you guys after listening to the show every week and now seeing my face next to you guys. So I've been looking forward to this. I did have a great experience on the Gambler's Perspective with Nick Kalikas and Yanni the Greek a couple weeks ago for the last card. That card ended up going really well for me. We'll see how this next Apex event goes, but I'm looking forward to talking about this one as much as I did the last one. So I'm excited to get into it with you guys.
Fuck yeah, man. Marcel, do you want to respond to him? Like, I mean, you gave some pretty good praise there, my friend.
Way too nice, man. Thank you so much, man. I wanted to make a nasty joke to Adam, but I already forgot it. So I mean, you did well.
I have to say, I watched this show enough to know that I was a little worried when I gave you your props like that. I was worried you were going to say something like, "Oh, get off my dick!" Like,
I thought he was going to show us our dick in his on the podcast right now.
And listen, man, I maybe if I would know you a little bit more better, maybe I would, but I don't know if that's right now the right thing, So, but with Adam, I wanted to say he's like, we're with a threesome here. He was a little bit too much hype for a threesome, Adam. There, that's what I wanted to say. But hey, George, thank you so much for coming on, and way too nice to me, but I really appreciate it, man. And very nice words, obviously, and I really appreciate it. And I'm glad you came on. Not just because you gave me my flowers or anything, but I'm just glad you came on.
Dope. Yeah. I just tweeted out. If you guys can hit the retweet button, that'd be great. Let me read some comments here. We got our boy Andrew in the chat. We got Craig here. What's up, Craig? How you doing, man? Samus, what's up, brother? Dana, one of our moderators. We appreciate you, brother. Okay, no worries. If you're busy, that's cool. Hopefully there won't be too many trolls. There hasn't been. George, we had one 2 weeks ago. The guy was so annoying. I couldn't kick him out. I was desperately trying to get rid of him.
I'm always listening like the day after or when I'm at work during the week. So I rarely make the live shows. So I didn't catch the troll in the live chat in person, but
it was just annoying. Like, it was, I don't really care, but it was just annoying,
To the point that Marcel made, like, in terms of like, oh, I wanted to be nice because I was being nice. Like, you got to be pretty thick-skinned if you're going to be in this space,
100%.
Dealing with. I mean, when you're putting your reads out like a week in advance, it's easy for if your pick doesn't go right for everybody to say, "Oh my God, you guys were so wrong. You don't know what you're talking about." But you know what? It's I like to think that all three of us know what we're talking about
to a
certain extent. So
I would hope. I was going to say, George, 2011 is when I first started. And then, one of my first articles I wrote about Fedor, and I kind of was like talking about his losing streak. I remember the fans, with the Russian fans, were in the comments going after me, and I learned very quick you got to have thick skin. You got to. So I think my skin's decently thick, but sometimes people can get annoying. Anyways, got some more comments. Sign collectibles. So George, you don't know about this, but in James Lynch has a Discord. A lot of the guys in the chat are part of the Discord. There's a 32-man tournament. I'm in the finals, and I'm waiting for my challenger right now. So sign collectibles. We've been doing a pick 'em contest. Basically, pick 5 fighters every week. Marcel got eliminated the first week. I've been in it since.
You got to add to that. After I've been eliminated, I'm actually doing very well. Actually,
yeah, I know. After that, you've been killing it. Actually, to be fair, George, you got our boy Dane in the chat. He says nice to meet you. Lazy Bed, one of our moderators. We appreciate it. One of our friends. Antoine, what's up, man? Glad to have you here. Hope you guys had a good week. Felt good to have a week off. Yeah, for sure. Definitely had a pretty good week off. What did I do? I've just been doing like regular stuff. I started a summer bowling league today, George. I started my softball league a few weeks ago. I had a game today. We came back and won in the bottom of the 7th inning. We were down 3 runs and we came back and won, which was pretty awesome. Cool. The other pitcher was like, he just melted down. They had 2 outs and he just walked 4 guys in a row. And then they started getting pissed at us for walking, but like the pitches weren't close. The pitches weren't close. Like, what are you supposed to do? Just swing in the dirt? So it was fine. It was a good comeback.
Wait, do you guys have an umpire?
There's an umpire, but it's softball though, so you just have to hit the board. But the guy didn't hit the board, so
okay.
Just if Adam is saying he has free time or time off and he's doing regular stuff, never asking what he actually does. So.
I actually been playing a lot of video games this week. So I started playing Zelda for Switch again. The Switch 2 is coming out, and I still have some games for the first Switch to play, so I got to finish them up.
Did you finally start the Tomb Raider one, man?
I still haven't played it yet. I have it right here. I know, and by the time I start playing it, 4, 5, and 6 will be out, and that's what you'll be playing.
And then you have Tony Hawk next time.
That comes out in July. That comes out. I can't wait. Justin, what's up, brother? Lazy Bed, the most trustworthy finance business. Actually, Marcel, we'll get into this in a few minutes, but I want you to take us through the whole thing with Ramise and that whole fight. So, but wait a sec, because I want to get the rest of the comments. You want to hear this, George? Let me get the comments, and then we'll go through that. What's up, Mr. Nice Guy? Antoine, really cool to see you guys get some recognition. So many people feel that way. I appreciate you, man. Thank you, dude. Before we starting suck each other's dicks review. Yeah. Like, no, we're not reviewing. We're previewing. We're not reviewing today. We're not reviewing today. There's no fights last week. I mean, we could talk about LFA or Cage Titans. I don't really want it though. Besides,
you guys could, not me.
No, I didn't watch it. Masik and Tofik Musayev. Wait.
I think Earl Bay against Tofik.
Yeah, he fucked it up. I was like, wait. Do you think Azerbaijan Mayfair should push UFC to time Tofik? He got released by GFL, and then he was a free agent, and they signed him. I think it makes sense, right? So.
Yeah, why not? I mean.
Yeah. All right. Tristan, what's up, man? Glad to have you here. Apparently, professionals will not be able to throw calf kicks, not below that in Netherlands. What's he talking about? Soccer? Is that
apparently the Dutch fighting thing wants to not in how do you say that? No calf kicks anymore.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they say because it has to be the sport has to be entertaining. Like, yeah.
Is that just for kickboxing?
Joe Rogan is never going to the Netherlands again.
That's only for kickboxing. That's not for MMA, just kickboxing, right?
Yeah,
or is that an MMA rule for levels with your boy Yarno?
Just kickboxing.
Not that your boy Yarno throws any low kicks anyways.
Yeah.
Calf kicks. Joe, what's up, man? George, where are you from? Yeah, you're in the States, right?
Right. So I was when I started MMA Racks, I was in Miami. When I was at GDC, I was also there. I'm in South Carolina at the moment. I'm kind of hoping to move back to South Florida eventually, but yeah, I am in the States. I know you guys have a very international audience, so
I mean, I'm in Canada. This guy's 6 hours away from us.
Yeah. I mean, Adam will be soon part of the States as well. He just don't know.
every week, like this fucking guy. Anyways, we were supposed to get the GFL was supposed to happen last night and today. Yeah. I think, and tomorrow, right? It was 3.
I wonder if that's the reason why there wasn't a card this past weekend, was because they were anticipating GFL. It's not like there were any other super major events that were happening.
I think it's because Memorial Day weekend, they used to actually have an event Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
I think Dana's probably somewhere else, and Nick and Sean are probably doing something.
That's possible.
I don't know for sure, though. No recap, but the rumor is Marcel is recapping Andrade's OnlyFans. Yeah, if you're part of the Discord, Marcel's always sending these nasty pictures in there, so, But
OnlyFans is going to be quite a subject on today's show, I think, for some 100%. Of these fighters.
I want to, before we get into the preview, we will in a second, guys. Just so a few days ago, Marcel, you had told me like, hey, like I'm hearing these guys have some visa issues and they might switch the fight. But there's Gary Kerman, our a friend of the podcast as well. He posted the fight yesterday, but I was waiting for you to post it. Again, George, we have to wait for Marcel. Marcel was trying to contact Ramise. Ramise was not answering him. So Marcel's like, what the fuck do I do? I can't post this. And then all these other sites are running with it, right?
Yeah.
So I found somebody else. Cannot say who, but
Okay.
I find somebody else. Fucking hell! But I mean, listen. Normally, I'm good with Ramise, So I always I talked to him. I've interviewed him before, but for some reason I couldn't get a hold of him. He also hasn't seen my messages yet. So maybe he's just fully being focused on his upcoming fight, and he's not doing any social media checking or anything. Which
he's too big time for you now after he
maybe
that's
it.
that win just put him over the top.
But he's a good dude, So I don't know. Maybe he replies later. But the fight is on. I actually knew this for some time. I told it to Adam. Adam knows that I knew, but it is what it is, man. It happens so many times. I mean, I know about a fight, and I tell Adam, and Adam is like, "Are you gonna break it?" I was like, "I can't do it. I only have one side, or I don't have. I have just one side. I cannot do it." It's like the Robert Valentin Atiba Gauthier I broke like 2 days ago. I think I told Adam that 2 weeks ago, but
I don't think you did actually. I don't know if you did about that one. Maybe you did.
I told you, man, but you just forgot. Horrible. Why would I even tell you anything anymore?
I'm so sorry. I forgot about Robert Valentin's next fight. My bad, man. My bad. Oh, it's funny that he gets the fight in Nashville, which is where Torres is from. It's funny even going to fight in this card now. You might not get it because that fight was so bad. They might fucking be like, you know what? We're not getting you on this card. All right, let's get a couple comments here. Marcel, or all of us, I guess. Or he's actually you. Quick reaction to Mobster not getting a tail shot. Marcel's pissed, right?
Business is a little bit too much because it doesn't influence my personal life or whatever, But I think it's horrible. I think it's a bad precedent to give somebody like Yair a title shot after a win. Yeah,
I'm telling George. I'm assuming you don't care about this fight either.
I mean, I shouldn't. It's not that I don't care. It's that I was worried last year when Izzy got the title shot against Duplessis. I was like, this is already setting a bad precedent in terms of they're just gonna, for promotional purposes, stick whoever in the title fight for the sake of business. And we've seen a lot of other subsequent title shots since then that have not really been justified. I think there's worse ones, honestly, than this most recent one, because Yair's at least coming off a win, even if it was against someone who was a debutant in Pitbull in the UFC, technically. But I think denying Movsar is pretty egregious. Oh, yeah. And I also think Yair's last 5-round fight in Mexico did not go very well for him. So how is this, and especially his last fight against Volk too, how are we to believe that it's going to go any differently this time?
I was at that fight with the Volk and Yair, the 290. That card was amazing. That was one of the best cards ever. That's when GD sent us to Vegas. This was like a week after he stopped working for the company, George, and we were supposed to meet up. We were supposed to go to that card together. I think that was the plan. So
we were going to go to dinner at least.
We were going to meet up. Yeah, I ended up meeting with a bunch of other guys, but
yeah,
it was a really good card. But I remember that fight just being one-sided. I don't need to see it again, and I think it's kind of stupid. But
it certainly wasn't as good as Moreno Pantoja.
Oh, that fight was pretty damn good for sure.
That was the co-main
with decision. Really good fight.
Yeah, the thing is what annoys me is I know a couple of years ago I saw an interview. I don't know if you Glory Kickboxing. I saw an interview there from the boss, and he was like, we're going to France next time, so we're gonna search for a French fighter to fight our champion because we want to have somebody who is local to. I was like, dude, that's just not the way, in my opinion, and I feel the UFC is doing that now as well, going to a certain location, book it there, and the guy who's from there or has a connection with it, we put it on so it sells better. Do you really think it sells worse if you have a very good main event with a very good co-main event on it? It's just weird to me.
I agree with you. I think as far as pay-per-view buys, no, but I think for ticket sales, it doesn't hurt to have a local guy. But again, I just don't care about this fight. It's supposed to still be in Guadalajara, Tristan, but apparently the construction is running slow. So I don't know.
Yeah,
The rumor is
imagine.
it might go to. It might George. I don't know if you're like maybe Phoenix. It might move there.
Yeah, imagine they go to
Really?
Phoenix, man, and
Interesting.
then they have Rodriguez against Volk. What doesn't even make sense?
I was
That's
there
the
for
rumor.
274, the last pay-per-view that was in
Was that
Phoenix.
AZ and Vittori, right?
No, that was
no.
it was
Oh, Charles
Oliveira
and
and
Gaethje.
Gaethje. One of the
Sick.
best one-round fights ever, and
Oh,
Charles
fuck
is my
yeah.
favorite fighter. So
There you
I
go.
was over the moon. Although I drove 36 hours from Miami to Phoenix over the course of 4 days to be
joking.
there. And Charles is my favorite fighter. And so I wake up on the Friday to drive the last 6 hours from El Paso, Texas to Phoenix. And while I'm driving through New Mexico, the weigh-in news comes out that Charles missed weight. And then I learn about all the controversy with the scale that like the Arizona Commission apparently screwed him.
Yeah.
And I have to imagine they were trying to do Gaethje a solid because he was the local guy. And that whole night, it was Charles versus the world. It felt like being in that arena, and it was so cool to see him win. So Phoenix, it'd be cool to see that card go to Phoenix. I get like the UFC obviously has a very strong promotional incentive to prop up Mexican stars, particularly with a card potentially happening in Mexico. So I kind of get it. But I completely agree with Marcel that like you should be making the best fights possible for the sake of maintaining the strongest consistent just progression through the divisions that you can. Holding things up by giving Yair another title shot.
Yeah.
That I mean, you've seen the reaction. I'm surprised it's been universally negative, but I'm kind of grateful it has been, that fans are communicating that this is not okay, even though the UFC is going to do what it wants to do anyway.
No, pretty much. And I just think at this point, honestly, like I'm with Marcel. Like I think any really fight will sell because UFC will sell anywhere it goes at this point.
Yeah.
The three letters are such a big star. Anyways, guys, we're actually pretty deep in here, and we should probably get going on the preview. I love talking to you guys about this other stuff, but I know some people we're here for the preview, so let's do it. By the way, our boys Andrew's taking some bong rips. That is a good signal to get started here. So UFC Vegas 107, another Apex card. Back-to-back Apex cards here. I'll just give you guys quick thoughts before we break down the fight. I always ask Marcel this. I'll get your thoughts too, George. We usually, ask each other, like, out of 10, what would you rate this card? I don't know what, like 6, 7. Like, what are you thinking, George? What do you think?
Well, are we going by Apex standards or by regular UFC
standards? By your own standards.
By Apex standards, I'd give this about a 7.5 or an 8. By regular standards, probably closer to a 6 or a 7. I think there's some matchups I'm very interested in. And I mean, we're going to get into the odds. A lot of these fights are competitively lined, I think.
Yeah, this card for sure. I agree.
There's only one or two fights that are lined 300 or worse for the favorite. So I like that. I do think the bout order here is about as bad as it gets.
Marcel's going to go crazy talking about the bout order today.
Klein Gamrot should be the main event for this card. Blanchfield Barber is an interesting fight, but relative to the division, this is not a title eliminator. I don't put either of these girls, regardless of who wins, above Fiora or Silva in terms of in the pecking order at flyweight. And there's a lot of fights down the card that I think should be on the main card, like Nascimento versus Filho, especially compared to a fight like Jacoby versus Bruno Lopes. That fight should not be on a main card. So I'm looking forward to it in terms of the whole card, but I would definitely reconfigure the bout order, and I think that has a big effect on why it's not as good as it could be.
Marcel, quick thoughts on the card as a whole, out of 10?
I'd say two things. 6.5 for me as a number, and F you, ESPN, for putting on this Apex card so late again. I mean, start 2 hours earlier. That would be. Listen, I don't mind to watch. Like for me, it's if they start 2 hours earlier. Main card for me is 1 a.m. That's okay. I mean, now it's 3 a.m. for a fucking Apex card. And sometimes, and then they go to 4 a.m. the week after it. I think for Atlanta. It's like, I only like 4 a.m. for pay-per-views because we're used to it. I'm okay with it. I'm like, whatever. I'll watch like fucking Volk year 2 and 7 a.m. in the morning. But. That's what I want to say. Overall, decent card, like George says, pretty weird bout order, I would say. Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't think that Ketlen, Vieira, Macy, Chiasson is like an absolute banger, but it shouldn't be like that low for a high ranked fight, I think. But
very relevant fight. Like, I mean, especially if Macy wins, like that puts her really high in the division right
and
now.
I also agree with George about Filho and Nascimento. That's a fight I think is amazing and should be on the. It was on the main card at first. It was the opener, and then they dropped it to the prelims. So,
all right, let's get to the card, guys. We'll start with the first fight using UFC stats bow order. I'm going to slip in the Billy Goff fight after Jacoby because that's where I think that fight was supposed to be with Sakyo Ko. How do you say it? Marcel? How does it?
Sakyon Ko, I think, but ask Brandon Fitzgerald.
Sakyo Ko. You've seen that, George? I'm sure you've seen. Yeah, classic. All right, let's get into the card, guys. First fight on the card: Hayani dos Santos, wherever you want to call her, against Alice Ardelean. And odds for this one: Dos Santos is one of the bigger favorites on the card, minus 278, plus 225 on Alice. I'll start with you, George. Give your quick thoughts on this fight.
It seems like we keep trying to find the floor every week for like what is the lowest level MMA fight we can make. This is an obvious dog or pass situation for me. I can't help but look at the last two results for Rayanne dos Santos. And if you go back and you look at the MMA decisions, the scoring, I think only one person scored the fight that Allan won as the split decision for Allan. Everybody thought Dos Santos should have won that fight. Yeah. And then they follow it up with one of the most egregious robberies I've ever seen against Puja Tomar. I mean, it's funny. We just talked about the UFC having promotional incentive for certain countries to try to prop them up. They must want that star from India so bad. If they were willing to just bold-face rob Dos Santos against Puja Tomar like that in a fight, almost everybody thought Dos Santos won 30-27. So I can't help but look at this matchup and think, why wouldn't they go for the hat trick and rob Dos Santos a third time in a row against a woman that has almost 4 million followers on TikTok? No, even if she has no argument for winning the fight the way Puja Tomar did.
Yeah.
So I think this is an obvious dog or pass situation, even though I don't really see how Ardelean has a path to victory. I'm going to pick her strictly on the basis that I fully expect a robbery here because they've already done it to Dos Santos twice.
There we go. We got a dog.
I don't advocate betting her at all. Your money would be better spent on Ardelean's OnlyFans than wagering on either side in this fight. But I don't know how. I can't help but look at this and think this isn't going to be a robbery. Like, there's no other way I see it.
Marcel, what do you think?
Yeah, pretty much what George said. It's like the first two fights of Rayanne Amanda dos Santos in the UFC. The first fight was kind of competitive with Allan, but I think she should have won. The side I like, I like Allan, but I think Amanda won. And the second was horrible against Puja Tomar. The only one who scored us for Puja Tomar are the two judges and probably her family and training partners, but nobody else. If you look at Ardelean, she had a short notice fight against Shauna Bannon, right? Which she lost in, I think it was a majority or a split. I can't recall anymore. It was a split. Yeah, it wasn't an amazing fight. And then she got pretty much destroyed by Super Smelly.
I mean, that should have been a TKO. I think, was it Keith Peterson? Was that the right Chuck? Yeah, it was Keith Peterson. That should have been, it was a kick to the body that ended, it should have ended the fight, but he said it was a low blow, I think. So
yeah. So I mean, yeah, like I said, she lost to Super Smelly. I say that again because I know you like that, Adam. Yeah, I listen, man. I love how George picked for the third robbery in a row, but yeah, I really cannot pick Ardelean here. I'm picking Rayanne Amanda dos Santos, and however, I mean, I'm going with decision probably. I'm happy it's the first fight of the night, so I'm not really focused yet in the card. But I'm going with Rayanne Amanda dos Santos.
George, is that Stella I saw? Is that Stella?
This is a local brewery in South Carolina called Edmund's Oast.
Nice.
And when I took my first sip, I accidentally spilled some on my shirt. So I hope, none of the viewers. I was wondering if that got picked up on the camera.
I probably did that so many times here. I was just looking to see if they have the over listed. No, I don't see it yet on DraftKings, but I'm sure it'll be juiced. It'll probably be like minus 500, I would think, for this fight. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna go to decision. It's going to be a close decision. From a betting perspective, it's dog or pass. I'm with you. I'm going to pick Dos Santos to win a close decision this time, but like if she gets robbed again, like or even if she loses, like and it's clean that she should have lost, like I wouldn't be surprised. This is kind of like again, George, you're talking about the bottom of the barrel. You got 14-8 against 9-7. Like it's just they gotta have better fighters out there than these two. Like I do think Dos Santos probably should be on 2 wins right now, so I got to give her some credit for that. But the fact that she has been losing, I mean, that's not good. It shows that the judges don't really love what she's doing. So. Yeah,
I'm not a big J. Cole fan, but if you've ever listened to the song Role Models, he says in there, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't put the blame on you. They have already robbed Dos Santos twice with next to no argument for either fighter to actually win. Yeah. I don't see why it wouldn't happen here either. I know you guys already hit the button for me. I feel bad that this is my first official dog pick on the show, given how cherished they are here. I do have a couple other dogs further up this
so
card.
do I. So I think I haven't talked to him, but I'm sure he does.
Okay.
Luana Santos also has a dog, so.
Most popular beer in South Carolina? Is it just
well, this is the brewery's called Edmund's Oast. It's really it's local for Charleston, but they have a beer called Something Cold that the logo is just like a little refrigerator, and it's really it's like a 5% blonde ale. It's really good. A lot of people around here like it a lot. They sell it actually. I was able to buy it at the Whole Foods when I lived in Miami, so it's a brand that's traveled a little bit. So I would recommend that if you ever are over at Whole Foods wherever you're at and can grab one. It's pretty good.
There you go. What's up? Remove Limit Break. Glad to have you here. Did you guys see the video of Jones in the scooter? Yeah, I mean, like, John Jones is not in this. We're not talking about John Jones, although I appreciate the question. Just strip this guy of the belt, please.
I didn't see any scooter videos. I saw the video of him in the pool, and I saw people saying, "Oh, MMA Guru is going to have a field day with that one."
Oh, God. All right, let's get to the next fight here. We got this fight. This fight's kind of interesting. I'm actually curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this fight. I have my thoughts on it. Down in the lightweight division, I think this is actually one of the better fights in the card. I would think MarQuel Mederos taking on Bolaji Oki. Very interesting fight, in my opinion. Oki's a decent favorite here, minus 192. MarQuel plus 160. I'll start with you, Marcel. What do you think? Because Oki's a Belgian guy. If you liked him for a while, what do you think of this fight?
It's difficult to pick this fight. I feel like you got we're going with Oki. Let's talk about Oki first. He had the debut. He was supposed to make his debut after the Contender Series win against Hadzovic. Hadzovic had to pull with visa issues, and Ari was injured. I don't know, and he fought Timmy Kwamba. Looked good in the first and third round, but got controlled in the second round by on the ground. He won majority decision, I think it was, or split again because one judge was sleeping. I think he clearly won 1 and 3. Then he fought Chris Duncan. I think he looked good early on, with striking, and then for some reason he went for a fucking takedown and he got guillotined. It was really weird, and he was like kind of out while he was out of the guillotine, so it was like really weird. If you look at MarQuel Mederos, won twice, but were like close fights and not really. How do you say that? Really. Really
impressive.
Impressive and convincing wins. I even thought this last fight against Austin Hubbard, he was kind of fortunate in that fight to get the win, although he won it. Difficult fight, man. Can Bolaji get the striking going early on? I mean, we'll see. I think MarQuel probably can go with him. Man, this is like a super difficult fight for me to pick. Oki got knockout power. At the same time, I think Mederos can win this as well. And I feel like I have to pick the underdog here. I'm going with Mederos.
Hit the button there. There we go. You know what? I'm going to go next, and I'll let you do the third one, George. Hit the button for me, too. I'm taking the dog, too. So we have a second dog pick here. I think he wins, too. I like Oki. So actually, that fight with Dylan Salver was like 2 years ago now, which is crazy. Yeah. That's where he just had that crazy knockout of his body shot. It was crazy. And I was like, damn, this guy's good. And then, again, he's kind of been disappointing, I think. The Kwamba fight, he won, but it was pretty competitive. And then, again, the Duncan fight, I remember I felt like he was going to win that fight, and then he gets choked out. That was disappointing. And then, he's been off since September, so about an 8-month layoff. Nothing crazy. Mederos, though, I mean, yeah, you're right, Marcel. It hasn't been the most convincing wins, but he still won. He beat Landon Quinones, who I don't know if he's in the UFC anymore, but I think he's an okay fighter. And then the Hubbard fight, that was kind of short notice too at elevation. So keep that in mind for that fight.
Oh, yeah.
I just think he's the more solid fighter, honestly. Like, I think Oki's going to be explosive first round, and he's going to try to get that knockout, but I don't think he's going to knock Mederos out. And I think if this fight goes 3 rounds, which I think it does, I think Mederos will be the more complete fighter over the 3 rounds, and I think he could mix in a takedown. I know he hasn't had a takedown in the UFC yet, but I think he'd be smart to push for a takedown, or at least push Oki against the fence, tire him out a bit. It's going to be, I think, a competitive fight. I'm kind of seeing going the distance. I'm going to go Mederos by decision, so I'll take a dog in here, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Gentlemen,
No way.
we have a consensus.
Yes, let's go. Triple dog.
I've picked Oki against Kwamba, and yeah, that fight should not have been a split decision. I think Kwamba, because he's like a Vegas guy, like he gets good judging in the Apex, frankly.
Sorry.
That should have been a 29-28 pretty easily for Oki, I feel. And the Duncan fight, I thought he looked great up until he made the really questionable decision to, as Marcel said, shoot the takedown, play into Duncan's strengths when he looked like he could have really easily just cruised on the feet. At the same time, I know it's Austin Hubbard, but Mederos beating Austin Hubbard, I feel like, is more impressive still, even by split decision, than any of the other wins that Oki has had. Ring rust is something that I really, really factor heavily into this. We just saw Mederos a handful of weeks ago, like 9 weeks ago, and he didn't take any, I think, super compromising or significant damage against Hubbard. And we haven't seen Oki since he fought Duncan 8 months ago. So the layoff, I think, is much shorter for the underdog here. So I think that's one area that's going to benefit him, that he's probably going to start faster because of that. I do think that because these guys are primarily strikers, that this is probably going to stay on the feet and go the distance. But I expect Mederos fighting he's a Factory X guy. That's a gym that I respect a lot. I think that they're going to give him a good game plan, and that he's not going to allow Oki to just make the most of his reach advantage and fight measured and stay at distance. I think he's probably going to do a lot of clinch work, throw some good elbows. I do think there's somebody in the comments that said that they don't think Mederos has any power. I really disagree with that. I think that even though the volume advantage probably goes to Oki, that Mederos is the harder hitter between these two guys. And I think that he's probably going to win a 29-28 decision by having the bigger moments in this fight. The last thing I want to say is that, with these guys that have limited experience, you guys are more familiar with regional MMA much more than I am. But I wanted to highlight this about Oki because I thought it was kind of curious, and that if you guys could kind of shed some light on it. When I looked at Mederos, I thought it was interesting that on his way into the UFC, he never fought an opponent that didn't have at least as many wins or more as him. And he never fought an opponent with a record worse than 500. Oki fought several guys on the way up that didn't have any wins or had losing records. Yeah. His third win in his career came against a guy that was 17-30. He got a title shot against a guy that, like, in his title defense, that the guy was 8-13 when he fought him, and now he's 9-19. And the fight before that, he fought a good fighter that was 13-0 and is now 14-2. But what I thought was interesting was the promotion he did it at, AFC. They only had a 3-round title fight. Most high-level regional, even like the UFC obviously does 5-round title fights, but even most regional MMA, like, it's 5-round standard for a title fight. Have you guys heard of a lot of promotions that do 3-round title fights like that?
Not pro, amateur, yes, but not pro.
So and that's on his pro record. So I think that kind of reflects. I think that shout out to Tapology. I know
that was an Atomic, Marcel. That Atomic promotion
there. Yeah, it's a Belgian promotion.
Yeah.
That's a Belgian promotion.
Levels Fight League, which is Netherlands, right?
I have to wonder. I just think that Mederos' overall, including his UFC competition, has just been much more battle tested than Oki has on the way up here. So it was fate, gentlemen. We have consensus dog on the first men's fight on the card. I love it.
Oh, let's go, baby. I know, right? Yeah. Watch that women's fight. Watch you got that dog too, man. You might catch 2 dogs in a row here. right, let's go to the next fight here, guys. We got this fight's kind of a tricky one too, I think. Kurt the Hurt Holobaugh taking on Jordan Monkey King Leavitt. Odds for this one, we have Leavitt is favored -185. Kurt Holobaugh plus 150. I'll start with you on this one, Marcel. What do you think?
Yeah, also not an easy fight to pick, in my opinion. You know, Kurt Holobaugh, I think he's been 3 times in the UFC, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Has difficulties with getting a good streak together. One loss. He's a really difficult guy for me to pick all the time because he's really inconsistent, I feel like. His last fight, he lost to Alexander Hernandez. I figured that would happen, but okay. To look at Jordan Leavitt, man, Jordan Leavitt, he started pretty decent, I think, in the UFC, right, with the Matt Wyman slam, which he that was a great win.
Yeah.
It was his first knockout as well, I think. But yeah, I mean, he didn't look good against Chase Hooper last time. And last time is 2023. So it's been some time since he fought. For me, like, Jordan Leavitt is decent, but he is decent against not amazing competition. But the same can be said about Kurt Holobaugh, you know? So for me, I feel it's more like a pick him to me. And I would say there's also dogger pass. So, and I think Holobaugh is the dog here, right?
He is, yeah, he's a dog.
Yeah, and I feel more with Holobaugh. I'm going Holobaugh decision, man. I think
all right, hit the button then. You got a dog. I'll let you go, George. Are you on the same side, or are you going with the favorite?
I have never been a big believer in Kurt Holobaugh. I think the only time I ever picked him was when he fought Trey Ogden, and that was not a good fight to pick him in.
Trey's underrated, though, to be fair. He's very underrated, I think, Trey Ogden.
There are 2 things about Holobaugh that I've never liked about him, and they are glaring red flags against an opponent like Jordan Leavitt. His takedown defense is horrible. It's only 39%, I think, even after the Hernandez fight, and I think it might have been even lower prior to that. And that was a big reason why he ended up losing the fight to Hernandez. And the other thing, too, is, and this was an interesting talking point going into the fight against Hernandez, because of the difficulty that Hernandez had bouncing back and forth between 145 and 155, people were always very critical of his cardio. I felt very confident in Hernandez in that matchup just because Holobaugh has been so dreadful in fights that have gone the distance across his entire MMA career. He's winning like less than, I think, 1 in every 3 of his fights that go the distance at least, and he's done it like 11 times at this point. And the other problem is once he gets taken down, he is just way too comfortable fighting from his back. He's very, very content to chase and fish for submissions off of his back and not get up immediately. And even when he does get back up, if he gets put right back on the floor again, he'll just go right back to hunting for offense out of his guard, which just doesn't play well with the judges. That plays directly into what Jordan Leavitt wants to do. He wants to put you on the floor, and then you're in his world. I am very concerned with the layoff. It's somehow not even the biggest layoff for any fighter on this card, but he has been away for 2 years, which is quite a long time. At the same time, he's 9 years younger, and Holobaugh's weaknesses play directly into Jordan Leavitt's strengths. So I have to go with the Monkey King here. And I have to say, too, he's one of my favorite characters in the UFC. And I feel like there's a lot of, like, the more toxic side of the fan base that doesn't really appreciate Jordan Leavitt's personality is probably going to be pretty willing to bet against him this week and take Holobaugh. I'm not lumping you in with those people, Marcel. But I understand why the line is the way that it is. I still feel pretty good about Leavitt getting this. I'm going to say he gets a 29-28. He's probably going to give up some damage in one of the rounds because I do think Holobaugh is that much better in the striking. But when this fight hits the floor, it's going to be in Leavitt's world, and Holobaugh is going to play directly into what Jordan wants to do.
I'm with you on this one, George. I'm leaning towards Leavitt too. That takedown defense really stands like a sore thumb with Holobaugh. You know, and also like he's like Marcel said, 3 times in the UFC, 2-6 and that's just a bad record. 2-6 in the UFC. It's a bad record. You know, it's just not good. There's been times where he's looked like a solid fighter for sure. Like the Count and Krzyzewski, he looked really good in that fight. I'll give him that. And even when he went tough, you know, with Hubbard, that was a nice win. But again, Marcel hit the nail on the head, super inconsistent, even though he picked him. Super inconsistent. I can't trust him. With Leavitt, though, I mean, like I'll tell you this, George, I can't bet the fight because the layoff, you know, it's like you said, almost 2 years. Mm-hmm. And again, the striking's not very good either, but I do think he can get takedowns in this fight. I do think he can control enough of the fight to win a close decision, but it is going probably the distance. You will have the judges involved. It could be a damage versus control type decision, which sketches me out, so I'll pass. But I'll take Leavitt by decision.
Especially because Holobaugh's a former tough winner. You wonder if there's going to be a little bit of a promotional incentive to prop him up if it goes the distance.
Fair enough. I mean, I just think, again, you talk about the age difference too. Like Kurt's older than me, so like he's getting up there.
He's long in the tooth for sure.
He is. He's a solid fighter, but I never thought he was like, super elite. And I'm not saying Leavitt is, but I think Leavitt will have a longer run in the UFC. I think this could be the end for Kurt potentially. But although I guess he should fight in that lure on this card, I do think it's a little weird they booked him for this card more so when that card's in 2 months. What happens if he loses? They just cut him? Like that card looks pretty full to me. It's kind of weird. I know they said that they're going to put him on that card. I'm not sure. So
I think if Leavitt loses, you got to give him one more chance. It's only a 2.
No, I'm talking about Kurt. Like
Kurt?
Yeah, because he he's from New Orleans. That card's in July.
Got it.
If he loses again, are they really going to keep him on the roster? I don't know. Hard to say. I want to get this comment from VB MMA Picks. Hey guys, second time tuning in. I want to ask Marcel about Dustin. Think you saw it or not? We'll talk about, I think that's the next fight, I believe. That fight. And I appreciate it, man. I know I followed you back on Twitter. Hit me up. Marcel said you're a good dude, so excuse me. I can do your podcast sometime. Just hit me up. I wasn't free last week.
VB is one of the sharpest cappers in the whole space. One of the biggest followings too. So it's nice that he would tune in for your guys' show.
That's awesome. West Coast can't root for a guy that's worse. Leavitt, the UFC's only gay fighter apparently. Right, Marcel, openly gay fighter. He's not actually gay.
He just got a kid, I think.
Yeah, they said he just had a kid. He's got a wife.
No, he's not gay. He jokes about it though. Did you not see that article on MMA Junkie where he said people send him dick pics and stuff to his Instagram DMs? He's joking about it. Like,
I don't know why you keep doing that.
I don't know. I shouldn't do that. Jordan's good. Patty got lucky. That fight was like somewhat competitive before he did submit him. It was somewhat competitive, but he still lost. All right. Let's go to the next fight here, guys. That's the fight that VB wants to talk about. Here we go. We got Trevin Giles taking on Andreas Gustafsson. Short notice catchweight, 580 pounds. Kind of a weird fight, on super short notice here. Odds for this one, Gustafsson favored -166, Giles +140. I'll start in this one. I can't. You talk about inconsistent. I mean, Trevin Giles has to be one of the most inconsistent fighters in the UFC. Like, there's been times where he has looked good, and he has some good wins on his record. Like Roman Dolidze, that looks like a really good win, and he's had some finishes in the UFC. But again, 3 straight losses. Didn't look good at all against Mike Bullock. Terrible fight, really gun shy in that fight. Got brutally knocked out by Prates after a strong first round. Submitted by Blanchfield. Just super, super inconsistent. Got me in here at super short notice. Had to ask for the fight at 180 because he can't make 170 on short notice because he used to be a middleweight. I understand that, but that's a little weird to me. And then with Gustafsson, first fight in the UFC, debut after Jeremiah Wells pulled out. He gets this opponent here. Like, I'm not super high on this guy. He is 34 years old, but he is really strong. He has some power, and I honestly think he might be able to knock Trevin Giles out here, guys. Like, I just don't trust Trevin. I don't trust his durability. You talk about attrition, George. I mean, Trevin Giles he's been in some wars. I can't pick him, especially the whole catchweight thing up at short notice. It's weird. I'm taking Gustafsson. I think he knocks him out, honestly. I'll let you go, George. What do you think? You with me?
I am with you. But before I get into that, real quick, when Wells was fighting Gustafsson, who did you guys have in that one?
I was going to take Gustafsson too, just because of like Wells again, attrition, right? So
Wells.
I was also taking Wells.
Okay, interesting.
So now in the rebooking, I was feeling more Gustafsson for a lot of the reasons you just cited. I did want to believe in Giles. He's a guy I've picked before. I picked him against Preston Parsons, and he won the split decision there. I also picked him against Prates, and he was looking great in that fight.
Okay.
He was winning the whole. A lot of people forget that, and a lot of people that were more hesitant about Prates while he was on the hype train he was last week. It was going back to that fight where a guy like Trevin Giles was having the kind of success that he was against him, and then ended up just getting caught late in the second round and knocked out. But I mean, that speaks to the whole problem here. Like, you don't know where the chin is at, and this is a guy that was getting knocked out cold at 185, then dropping down to 170, and then continuing to get knocked out. That's usually a major red flag. I do think the catch weight in 180 helps the chin a little bit. And I don't think Gustafsson has great power, but we know based on that Contender Series knockout, like it's rare to get a knockout against the fence in the clinch the way that he did. So he's good using the elbows, and I think he could probably utilize that again to put Giles away here. The big thing that I wonder about, just relative to where Giles is at, I know that he quit being a cop in 2022, I think probably to focus more on a full-time. One of the people in the comments on the chat has said that he's gone back to being a cop since. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I don't think it's totally out of the question. If you're Giles and you're on a 3-fight losing streak, and most fighters in the UFC get cut, unless you're a Tony Ferguson and you've got an enormous fan base and there's promotional incentive attached, most UFC fighters on 4-fight losing streaks are getting cut. So if you're Giles and you know that your job is on the line, why are you taking this on short notice? It's only one of two reasons. You're either supremely confident that you're going to beat the opponent despite the fact that you haven't gotten a full camp in and enough time to participate, or you're getting your last paycheck and dipping. And I wonder if Giles is kind of resigned to that fate based on the fact that he's taking this on short notice. So I have to take Gustafsson too. I'm going to say that he gets knocked out in the second half of the fight. I know it's kind of a cop-out to pick a guy to win the same exact way that he won his last fight, but I don't think it's totally crazy here. Gustafsson to win by second-round knockout is going to be my prediction.
We're going to go 3 in a row here, Marcel, with Gustafsson.
Apparently, Dana White had some parking tickets open in Texas, so Giles get another chance here. No, we're not going 3-0 here. I'm picking Trevin Giles.
Oh, okay.
I'm not
going
even,
dog crazy, man.
Holy
yeah,
shit.
I'm sorry. And I'm not
That's 3 in a row.
I'm actually kind of convinced, to be really honest.
Wow.
I mean, listen, man. Giles is really inconsistent. I give you guys that, definitely. There, the lights go out by Adam.
Yeah, I know, right? Sorry.
He does these things, to get it more cozy in here. That's the guy Adam is.
His lights went out the same way Giles' lights.
Yeah, there you go.
The thing is, like, Gustafsson fought on the Dana White Contender Series against Pete League. Pete League is Canadian, so we don't really rate that win. No, just kidding, obviously. But I wasn't really like, how do you say that, hyped when I saw that fight. I thought it wasn't that great. And Adam, you also weren't really impressed with that
I'm with
fight.
you, but again, I just
wasn't
don't think
either.
Giles is. I think he's done, dude. Honestly, I think
Maybe.
he's done.
If you look at Giles last time against Mike Malott, I mean, also Canadian.
Oh, he looked terrible in that fight. He looked really
Yeah,
bad.
he looked really bad.
He
I
looked
agree.
so bad.
He looked bad, but at the same time, he has losses on his record against guys he kind of looked good against.
His level
Against
competition
Carlos
is very,
Prada,
very high,
Michael Morales, he also fought him.
DDP.
Yeah, DDP.
He was okay in the Duplessis fight before he got into that
Well,
one.
we talked about that in here before too. I'm with you. But again,
He's such an odd guy.
He's been finished 6 times in the UFC. That's not good. That's not good.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, true, but at the same time, I feel like he has more talent than Gustafsson has, So maybe I'm completely off here, and I'll cry myself into sleep if I am. But I'm going with Trevin Giles. I'm also going with a finish. I'm going with the first round finish.
Wow, that's a ballsy pick. I'll give you credit for that if it comes through. Okay.
It is crazy that Gustafsson is 2 years older than Giles, and yet it still feels like Gustafsson has the better career trajectory at this point than Giles does. But unless Marcel's prediction ends up being correct, which I don't think it's totally far-fetched, he's definitely talented. I just don't know if the durability is there. And it's suspicious that given what's at stake for him that he would take this on short notice.
1 week's notice. We haven't heard of this guy. He hasn't fought since last November. All of a sudden he reappears. I think the UFC's probably like, hey, you got to take this fight. We're cutting you. So just to answer your question, Antoine, I would imagine if this isn't the last fight in his contract that, if he has even more fights after this, they would just cut him anyways. And because they can cut you at any time, especially if you lose, they can just release you. I think this is do or die for Trevin Giles, for sure. 3 straight losses. All right, let's go to the next fight here, guys. I think this fight's really interesting, personally. We got 2 women's bantamweights here, Ketlen, Vieira, and Macy, Chiasson. I think this fight is a pretty relevant fight, and I think it should be on the main card. I know some people probably think it's going to be a boring fight. I don't know how it's going to be entertainment-wise, but I think it should be on the main card. Odds.
I can't blame them for not putting Ketlen Vieira on the.
Fair enough, but I think Macy's looked great lately. She's a small favorite here, minus 120 and plus 100 on Vieira. So competitive line, but small lean towards Chiasson, and I like her in this fight, guys. I don't know. I'll get your guys' thoughts in a sec. I'm going to start in this one. I like Macy in this fight as a dog. I think she is a dog. I think she's looked great lately. Like I really do. I remember a few years ago. This is actually 3 years ago. I bet on Ardelean Donna. I put a pretty big bet on her. And dude, she was losing that fight and got a really I would say lucky up kick to the body. It was
gosh.
Which was crazy.
If I bet on Macy in that fight, if I watched my side lose on an up kick to the body, I would have that would make even the most composed gambler tilt.
I was like, holy shit, I'm gonna lose this bet. And she ended up winning. So I think it was pretty crazy. And I think she's looked great since then. Personally, I mean, if I know Piani's on the UFC, but very, very smooth performance there. And then Bueno Silva, she did take some damage in that fight, and it was competitive, but nasty cut. Breaks open Bueno Silva's face and gets the win there. Wins a bonus as well. I think the UFC would want her to win this fight because it gives them a brand new contender in this division that really sorely leads them in this fight, in this division. With Ketlen, she's tough. She's been in the UFC for a while now, actually, almost 9 years. Wow, crazy. She's been there a long time. Always goes the distance for the most part. Very, very durable. Very tough. But I think that you talk, this is a competitive fight. You look at the odds, it's like a pick'em. But the momentum, I think, is on Macy Chiasson's side. And I think right now she's the better fighter right now. She's a little bigger as well. I think that doesn't hurt. Solid, well-rounded fighter. I think it's going to probably go the distance, but I think Macy will end up getting the win here. And to be honest with you, I think she has finishing upside in this fight as well, potentially. So I like her. I mean, she was a dog for a bit. The line is flipped. She's a small favorite. We'll have to monitor it throughout the week, but I'll get your guys' thoughts. But I'm thinking Chiasson. I think she wins. What do you think, George?
I agree with you. I've got Macy in this fight. She's going to be the longer fighter. She's got a 3-inch height advantage and a 4-inch reach advantage, and she's got the better striking numbers. So I think she's already got kind of a path to victory just by if this is able to remain a stand-up fight. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean Vieira is going to allow that to happen. I think that the best path to victory for her is going to be having to break Macy's takedown defense, which is a little above average. So she's going to have to put this fight on the floor and probably grapple her way to something like a 29-28. Even in a close decision, though, because Macy is one of the recent winners of the Ultimate Fighter, I have to think that there's going to be a bit of a promotional incentive to kind of prop her up a little bit. And I know I didn't pick Holobaugh earlier on that basis, but I think that is something that plays into some more of Macy's favor here, just given that she's been more successful going the distance in her career than Holobaugh has in his career. So I agree with your point as well that the finishing upside, I know that we don't get as many finishes in women's MMA, but Macy's got 5 finishes against UFC level competition. Vieira's only got 1 finish in her career in the UFC. So I would agree that it feels like the knockout and the submission upside, even though Vieira, I think, has only been finished once. I would still favor Macy to get either a knockout or a submission. If it goes the distance, it's probably a little closer, but I still like Macy to get a 29-28 win here.
Making it 3 in a row, Marcel, or you're going to take the dog again?
No, this fight's not going to be good, I think. But, I'm picking Macy as well here. I kind of figure you put in the word threesome for this fight instead of in the beginning of the podcast, but okay. I'm picking Macy here. I think she has there's more upside to her in this one.
Marcel, both these girls don't like guys anyways, man. You know this.
Yeah, but you don't care. You always talk about what's her Bruno Brazil, so whatever.
No, that's not me. That's Tristan, our chat. That's our friend Tristan. He gets
Gloria DePaula.
Which one? Gloria DePaula. Yeah, I like her. She's cute.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, but I don't judge you. Macy. I think Macy has, like I said, more upside to win here. The thing with Ketlen is she can be physically strong, and Macy's kind of big as well for bantamweight. She fought at featherweight before. I don't know, man. For some reason, every time Ketlen fights and is close to a title shot or whatever, she fumbles. I have the feeling, and she got knocked out by Aldana sometime. It was a big time ago, and like you said, like Macy was winning against Aldana until that up kick. I think it was 1-1 going into the third round, and Macy was winning, and then the up kick, and then Aldana won. Obviously, yeah. And then Macy did well against Myra. I think Myra was a competitive fight, and then she opened her up, and then she got the win. I'm picking Macy here as well, probably by decision. I think this fight was supposed to happen actually in January already, but it got canceled. The UFC absolutely wanted this to happen.
It was supposed to happen 2 times, actually, and each woman pulled out on opposite sides each time that it was supposed to happen, interesting enough.
Fair enough. All right, triple favorite pick there. Can Macy
Sorry to cut you off, Marcel.
No, you're good, George. Can Macy still chase the title? I think so. I think so. I think she could be someone like Julianne is even older than her, I believe. I think Julianne's a little bit older. Kayla's an older fighter as well. I think a lot of these, and Amanda, she comes back. She's 37 now, so there's a lot of older fighters in this division.
Can I ask Josh something?
Yeah, you can ask him something.
Do you want to see Amanda Nunes come back?
To fight Kayla Harrison, I would.
Whoever.
I would love to see Amanda fight.
I think Amanda
Kayla
beats
Harrison.
the shit out of her personally.
Maybe it does happen. I think that's one of the most intriguing women's MMA matchups the UFC could make, and I would love to see it. And I have to say, I went to Ohio State for college. I've been an Ohio State fan my entire life, and I host a podcast for another media company that covers Ohio State sports, and my co-host is from Middletown, Ohio, which is the same place that Kayla Harrison is from. Okay. So we both really want to see Kayla Harrison make a title run here, and I think Juliana Pena, no way that she beat Raquel Pennington, and she has done a great job turning herself into a heel. I would absolutely love to see Kayla just steamroll her, get a finish, and then put herself in a position where she's clearly top dog and Amanda comes back, and those two, that's about as much of a clash of the Titans as you're going to get in MMA.
I love the how they say that, the post-fight interview of Juliana after that fight, when Joe Rogan was like, I think it was Joe. No, it wasn't Joe. I don't know who it said. It's like, were you confident you won? Yeah, you always. She was like complaining about the judges while she.
What did you say, Marcel? You got cut out there.
I was talking about Juliana Pena, a post-fight interview at when she won the title, and I think Cormier asked her about the judges, and she's like, "Yeah, those judges, they always fuck up or anything." So it's like she was actually complaining about one judge, while the other people were like, "There's 2 judges that did wrong or anything,"
All the judging that night was disgusting.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was so bad.
But Josh, I tried to find somebody who also didn't give a shit about getting Amanda Nunes back, but I didn't find the person.
I think it's great. I mean, she's the best women's fighter of all time. I think it's great to have her back.
We got to take what we can get when it comes to women's MMA, and I love watching Amanda Lemos just maul people. So,
Amanda Nunes, you mean?
Or Amanda Nunes, not Lemos. She doesn't maul a lot of people.
Not in the last fight. That was horrible. It's one of the worst fights I've ever seen. Macy's lone shining star duel for Fortis. Yeah, right now, I mean, that gym, I don't know what happened there. I guess Brandon Moreno's still there, though, isn't he? Isn't he training?
He's with Safe, so
I guess he would be there. Yeah, I think Alonzo Menefield went back, but I'm not 100% sure. What's up, locker room? What's up, man? MMA locker room. MMA judges have been so bad. At this point, I'll take James Krause. Yeah, no, it's bad though. I mean, that's the one. George. One of the hardest things about capping is the judges, because you never really know what they're seeing. So it's always something to keep in mind, especially with fights that do, get projected with distance.
That's why I think you have to keep in mind promotional incentives.
You're not wrong. Yeah, you're not wrong. Macy should have fought 3. You know what? You're right, because she is New Orleans, and same with Kurt, and they're both on this card. It's a little odd to me. It's a little odd, but we'll see. Maybe they'll get them on that card. Macy and Macy both getting a win. We'll talk about the other fight in a sec. Parlay of the Macys. Yeah, I mean, potentially. We'll talk about that fight after. Right? Let's get to the next one, guys. We have the last fight on the prelims. It was on the main card originally, but it's back in the prelims, and I think this is a really good fight too. I'll be honest with you guys. Now that we're actually breaking the card down, I'm a little bit more excited about it. Like, to be honest with you, some of these fights are intriguing matchups. So, not the most name value, but I like this fight a lot. Allan Nascimento taking on Jafel Filho, and this is a really good fight in my opinion. What?
The pasta.
Okay.
Don't you know the clip?
No, what are you talking about?
Oh, come on! You have like the Family Feud clip with Steve Harvey with when he's in Africa, and then there's a question like, what is something that should not be on a wedding, and the guy with the African accent is like, there is no pasta, but and he hears there is no pasta, and he's like, there's no food at the wedding, and he's look really confused at him. He's like, pastor, no, there is no food. How do we say? Oh, preacher, and then he.
Okay.
Oh wow!
You have to go a while to get there, Marcel. But you got there.
I'll set the clip. I'll set the clip to both of you.
All right. Anyways, Allan Nascimento's he's actually the favorite here despite the layoff. -162. Jafel Filho +136.
I think it was a pick'em originally.
Yeah, I'm looking at the line move, and it's coming in on Nascimento, which is kind of interesting. I'm gonna go with the dog. Hit the button for me. I'm taking Jafel Filho here, guys. I'm taking him. So I think it's a very fun fight. Actually, I like both guys. I do like them both. But the thing with Nascimento is like hasn't fought in 2.5 years. He's always pulling out of fights for some reason. I know he trains with Shooter Box. I know he trains with Charles and Gary and all those guys. So he comes from a great camp. But I don't know, man. I mean, that's a long layoff. And then taking on Filho, a guy that I think is one of the most underrated guys right now at flyweight. I don't think he's ranked, but he very well could be. I think he is that good. His ground game is really good. He was up against Muhammad Makayev in the scorecards. He was up 2-0 in that fight. And at the time, I think most people thought it was probably tied or something, but he was actually up. And he would have won that fight, but he got submitted with 30 seconds left. That would have been the craziest win, like, for him. So I know he lost, but the fact that he went the distance, like not the distance, but almost the distance, and had the score, was up on the scorecards against one of the best guys in that division, that says a lot. And then since then, beats Daniel Barra, Marcel in a crazy fight. Yeah.
Barret.
And then Ode Osborne washes him too. And Ode, I know Ode's inconsistent, but like he looked pretty damn good against Luis Garuli in his last fight. So I think this guy's legit. I think he's very, very solid. I've been very impressed with him ever since Contender. He had that crazy knockout. And again, UFC 2-1, but again, he's on a layoff too, about a year and 2 months, so about 14 months, but not as much as Allan Nascimento was almost 30 months. We got 29 months, I think. That's a long layoff, man. I can't pick a guy off that layoff. I'm a little confused by the line movement here. I've got to be honest with you guys. Like, I'm surprised so much money's coming on Allan Nascimento. The other thing about Allan Nascimento is you talk about bad takedown defense, 60%. And I know that the sample size is only 4 fights, but that is bad. And he is one of these guys that, like, I remember the fight with Tajir. He was very content to lay in his back and, like, throw up submissions. And, yeah, I know one judge scored it for him, and I think there are arguments there. But, like, in general, you don't want to be on your back. And especially against a guy like Filho, who is just super dangerous. So I don't know if he finishes this fight, like, because I think Nascimento is very high level on the ground. But I think Filho wins. I'm taking him to win. I'm taking the dog. I'm doing it, Marcel. Let's start with you. I'll go to you next, George. Are you on the same side as me, or are you taking the favorite?
Marcel, don't let us down here, man.
Another dog.
I'm taking Filho too. I think it's worth mentioning. Yeah, I alluded to. I can't remember who I said earlier had something like another 2-year layoff himself earlier, but it wasn't the longest one on the card. Nascimento is the guy, 2.5 years, like 28 months, and he's had a couple cancellations, but he's also pulled out himself of a few fights since then. But the ring rust here is crazy. Now, Filho is like 14-month layoff himself. We haven't seen him since he got that win over Ode Osborne. So he's got quite a layoff himself here, but it's still 2 times as much ring rust for Nascimento. I mean, that's a crazy number. The other thing about Nascimento is, as good as the guy is, he's got 1 knockout win in 26 pro appearances, and it was a corner stoppage in his 3rd career fight all the way back in 2012. Like, as whatever the striking numbers may say about Nascimento here, the guy does not have much finishing upside on the feet. You compare that to Filho, who got his contract on Contender Series with a 1-punch knockout in the 3rd round. I think that the knockout upside firmly belongs to the underdog here in Filho. Nascimento has never been finished, so I would imagine that this fight is probably going to go the distance. But if you're looking at this strictly from the perspective of how many different ways can this fight end, knockout, submission, decision, I think knockout upside is firmly on Filho just because he's been much more demonstrably dangerous in that realm. The submission upside I don't think is great here because I don't think either of these guys have ever been submitted. And as great as Nascimento has looked on the ground and in the grappling, Filho's very credentialed in that area himself. It wasn't just that he was up against Makayev in that fight. I don't know how Makayev survived
knee bar.
Knee bar. I mean, his leg was bending the wrong way. And for him to get up after that and you could see him visibly limping around after he ended up winning the fight. I mean, that speaks to how special of a talent Makayev is. That loss to Makayev, his performance in that fight, I still think is more impressive than anything by contrast that Nascimento has done, beating guys in Jake Hadley, who no longer is in the UFC, and Carlos Hernandez. I mean, the guy, he's all right, but I mean, there's a reason they keep throwing him against all these road to UFC veterans, So and then he wasn't able to beat Tagir Ulanbekov or Raulian Paiva, who he had a split against Paiva on Contender Series.
That was a fun fight, by the way. That was a good fight back.
Paiva's a good fighter too.
Yeah.
I mean, you could make an argument he should still be in the UFC, but I mean, he's not around anymore either. So I think that what Filho has done is more impressive, and he's done it more recently, and I see more routes to victory for him. I'm going to say that he has the bigger moments in this fight, similar to the way that I picked Mederos to win a 29-28 by winning bigger moments as opposed to minutes. I see the same thing for Filho here, and I'm going to say he gets a 29-28 with the bigger moments in this fight.
Marcel, you going to make a consensus dog again or no?
By the way, Paiva got robbed by Kai Kara-France by way of demographs, and that's a fact. No. No. I'm going with Nascimento. And I thought long about this fight because I think it's really close. I think it's a really competitive fight. Both are Brazilian. Both are pretty good on the ground, in my opinion. Filho might have an advantage in the stand-up. I agree with George there.
Yeah.
But I think Nascimento is stronger. That's what I think overall. I don't think he's not even more technical better or anything. I just think he's stronger. And I might be off here, but it goes to decision. I'm pretty sure about that. And I think it will be fucking close, I think it might even be a split decision. I wouldn't be surprised. I think these guys are really competitive with each other. These guys are like almost top 15, just not in the top 15. Nascimento's maybe a little bit more further away because he has been inactive. But I'm going with Nascimento. And about the inactive thing, Adam, George, you guys also picked Jordan Leavitt, so fuck it with that stuff.
Totally valid.
Jordan, November 2023.
That's
right.
Until
January 2023. That's right. Almost a year itself.
Adam, suck my dick with your facts. You knew he was going to throw that in here tonight, George. You knew it. Yeah.
You guys are going to get a bunch of written complaints about this show, just like you did this.
But I'm picking Nascimento by decision. I think it's a close fight. Can go either way. I'm really looking forward to this one. I think this is one of the best fights on the card, to be honest.
I'm with you. Okay, let's get to the next fight here. Opening up the main card, we have Dusko Todorovic taking on Zachary Reese. And the odds for this one have Reese is pretty big favorite here. Let's see here. Where's Reese?
It's come down a little bit from what it was last week.
Yeah. One sec. Let me pull it. I don't see it on Best Fight Odds, but I think I saw it on DraftKings. I'm just using DraftKings odds just to make it easy. I think it's here. Sorry, guys.
I've got them pulled up if you want me to.
They don't have it listed on
step on your toes.
That's fine. They don't have it listed on Best Fight Odds. I don't know why.
On FightOdds.io, Reese is minus 232 at the moment.
I have it here at.
But you guys use your sponsors' odds. I apologize.
No.
I
we had a sponsor. We don't have them anymore. They were trying to make us do all this extra work, and we Marcel put our foot down, right, Marcel? So that's what happened. Minus 250, Zach Reese. Dusko plus 205. I mean, I'm all over Zach Reese in this fight. I think he sends Dusko packing from the UFC. Like, I really do. I think Dusko, I'm surprised he's still on the roster. Honestly, guys, like, you talk about inconsistent. I mean, he's right there. Where is he? 3 and 5, excuse me, with 4 knockout losses. You talk about attrition. I mean, this guy's been knocked out a bunch. Zach Reese has power. Zach Reese has the better grappling. I don't think losing to Bakoyev looks that bad right now. Bakoyev's really solid. And I think he's just a better fighter. I think Zach Reese, he just beats up Dusko sends him packing. I'm not overthinking this one. I'm taking Zachary by TKO, and I honestly like him. I know he's minus 250, but I think he wins easily. Personally, George, you with me on this or?
So if I told you guys that Todorovic had been knocked out in all but one of his last 5 losses, and the 5 guys that he lost to were Mansour Abdul Malik, Christian Leroy Duncan, Chidi and Jaquani, RoboCop Rodriguez, and Soriano. Which guy would you guess didn't get the knockout of those 5?
I would say probably Leroy Duncan, although to be fair, it was an injury, right?
But it was Rodriguez.
It was RoboCop.
Isn't that crazy that out of all those guys, he was the guy that knocked down Cannonier twice in the first round, wasn't able to finish Todorovic? It's unbelievable. As concern, there are things that concern me about Reese. As someone that picked him very confidently against Brundage, I'm forever going to be haunted by
that slam was amazing though. And the fact we had back-to-back slams on that card.
You want to talk about things that tilt you as a bettor? There's been like 13 slam KOs in UFC history, and to have those 2, and I picked the loser of both of those fights. But I wasn't as much on Selecki as I was on. I thought, everybody is looking to fade Brundage at every opportunity, and for Reese to not, take care of business in that fight, but it speaks to a problem that he had, in fairness, demonstrated even on Contender Series, which is that he's way too. Yes.
I have to cut you off for a second. I'm sorry, but Cody Brundage is my guy. So if you say anything more bad about him, I cut you off.
I won't speak on Cody Brundage again from this.
Marcel, did you pick Cody when he fought? What's that Australian? Who's the Australian guy?
Malkoon.
I picked Cody to beat Marquez, by the way, in his last fight. So
did you pick Malkoon or Cody in that fight?
I think I picked him against Reese. I did actually, but not against Malkoon.
Okay, against Reese you definitely did. Yeah, and I was pissed because he got slammed off. By the way, that card I just checked. This was like the last card. Dana was like super generous with the bonuses. 10 bonuses in that card. 10 of them. They just don't do that anymore. And again, George, we've talked about this. Every finish should have a bonus. You should have a finishing bonus. But they want to keep the fight.
It's criminal that Jared Gordon didn't get a bonus.
It's criminal that the bonuses are still $50,000 in 2025. They were giving out more back in the day, dude. They give out less now than ever, especially with inflation.
I just can't believe they gave one to Denise Gomez and not Jared Gordon. It's unbelievable.
I can understand the main event with Morales because they're pushing, again, promotional incentive. They want to get this guy some extra money, but how do you not give Gordon a bonus? It's crazy. Anyways, so we both have Reese. Marcel, you're picking Reese?
Listen, man, I want to, and B, I have to. One, because I think Reese is the better fighter, and B, his last name as a fat fuck I really like. So I have to pick him here. And that said, Todorovic. Listen, man, I have to apologize to my colleague at Eurosport, Stefan Struve. Unfortunately, I not can pick your little brother, but I'm picking Reese here, and I think he probably finishes Dusko as well. Yeah,
I'm with you guys.
I will say the one thing that gives me concern about Reese here is that, as I was alluding to with the Brundage fight, it was on Contender Series too. He has the same problem with Holobaugh in that he is way too comfortable fighting off of his back and just letting himself go to the ground. So if Todorovic is able to get takedowns, he's not super efficient at doing that and extend this in some capacity. I don't think it's out of the question that he could somehow work out a path to victory here. But the attrition is bad enough, and Reese has proven a hard enough hitter that I fully expect him to get a first-round knockout here.
Yeah, no, fair enough. All right, let's go to the next fight here, guys. We have light heavyweight bout between Dustin, Jacoby, and Bruno Lopes, and the odds for this one have Jacoby minus 185, Bruno Lopes plus 154. I'll start in this one. I'm taking Dustin Jacoby. I just think he's the more proven fighter. He's the far better striker, in my opinion. His takedown defense is pretty good too. So Lopes he's going to probably stand with him. He's been knocked out. He got brutally knocked out on Contender Series by Brenton Ribeiro. You talk about a guy with knockout power. I look at Dustin Jacoby's record, right? 8 wins in the UFC, 5 by knockout. So he's got power at 205, legit power. Obviously, very, very high level kickboxer. And we saw against Vieira Pacino, he was down, and the live odds were so crazy in that fight, George. I don't know if you were paying attention. And then
I had Petrino as a parlay that night. I was paying attention.
Piece on my parlay, the last piece, and I was like, So I'm looking at the live odds and they get taken down. I'm like, oh shit, what happened? And then brutally
Somebody told me
slept.
it was like minus 2,800 on the
He
live
was.
odds
I
or
think he was,
something.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So Dustin's just got massive power. I think guys that beat Dustin are, people that are better strikers than him or someone that like can potentially take him down. I just don't see that being the case here. Like Bruno Lopez, like he got that win against Magomed Gadjusulov, but it wasn't too impressive. And then the fight on Contender against that Georgian guy, like that wasn't too impressive either, in my opinion. What, Marcel? What?
He got dropped in that fight too, by the way.
I agree,
it wasn't
man.
impressive at all.
No.
Sorry, let me just finish. I'll go to you. I'm taking Jacoby by knockout. So Marcel, go ahead.
I mean, Lopez won a decision against probably one of the worst Dagestani fighters I've seen in the UFC. I mean, that was like a horrible fight, I think, and I'm surprised they put him on the main card now. Yeah, maybe
what the
because
fuck is with this bow order, dude?
Maybe because Jacoby got that knockout win over Vitor.
They probably were trying to push Dustin, I guess.
Yeah, but it's a weird. Listen, I like Jacoby a lot, but it's kind of weird to push either guy, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I'm really not impressed by Lopez so far. He pretty much won his Contender fight because the other guy completely gassed out. And before he got knocked out against Brandon Ribeiro, which was a kind of an upset, I remember back then.
It was like a huge upset. He was like minus 700 and lost. Yeah.
He was the LFA champ, and
yes.
so I'm going with Jacoby, man, and Jacoby should be able to put this guy away. I mean, if Jacoby doesn't put this guy away, I don't see him getting back into a top 15 or something. But yeah, Jacoby should win this. I'm going with a knockout win for Dustin Jacoby in the first round.
You have the same pick here?
Yeah, we've got a consensus knockout for.
There we go. That might be plus money.
The twisted cousin of a consensus dog.
That might be plus money. We'll never know.
I'm on. I same outcome, but I'm on it for different reasons. And it's funny. You asked us at the beginning of the show, what did you guys do with the week off? I spent the week off dreading this fight and trying to pick the winner. It was as somebody that was super confident in Petrino and that Petrino should have won that fight and would have won if he just didn't invite himself into a trading exchange with Jacoby and get knocked out at the end. It's like, can I really justify picking Jacoby here as a favorite? At the same time, I picked Gadziazulov to beat Lopez, and it was very funny to me to see all these people celebrate their Bruno Lopez plus money tickets cash when he fought that fight clinching against the fence for like 10 minutes at a time, the same way that a guy like Mario Batista does against Jose Aldo and gets vilified by the community. Yeah. So and then I went back and I actually watched the Contender Series fights for Lopez. And a lot of people forget he got dropped when he was like a 600 favorite against that Georgian guy in the first round. So he lost the first round, had to come back and win. That fight is also the only one on his record that is a one-punch knockout win. And if you go back and you look at the body shot that he dropped that guy with, that guy had already been resigned to his fate of losing it. It was literally like a poke. Like he could have poked him in the liver and the guy would have gone over. It really wasn't like a put all his weight and hips into it and throw all of his force into the liver and put the guy away like pretty badly. It was pretty weak. And I frankly, it's kind of surprising that he got a contract based off of that. But I guess he's a former LFA champion. Maybe they want to promote a guy that was a champ in a regional promotion or something. I'm not sure. But you talked about like the guys that Jacoby loses to. I mean, Dominic Reyes, Alonzo Menafield, Azamat Mirzakhanov, and Khalil Roundtree. All of those guys are.
But you should have won that fight. Let's be honest.
Those guys, yeah. I had Jacoby in that fight too. That one drove me insane.
Dude, I felt like I was ripped off on that one for sure.
That was crazy. But that also, in terms of like when they made the transition in the criteria from primarily emphasizing damage as the lead criteria, even though it's the most subjective. I mean, Khalil won that fight landing like two big shots, and it ended up giving him the entire fight. So I go back to that a lot in terms of referencing how subjective damage is on the judging in the current state of the sport. That being said, all those four names I just mentioned, the common thread between all of them is they are all nuclear hitters that can capitalize on the chin that Jacoby has. I don't think Lopez. I think Lopez has very disappointing power for a guy that fights at 205. I don't expect him to be able to capitalize on the chin of Jacoby, but he's already shown, like he did in the Ribeiro fight, that he's willing to trade with guys when they exchange with him. And Jacoby punishes people that elect to do that. So I'm with you guys. I think Jacoby's going to win by first round knockout, but I also think if this goes the distance, he's got the better kickboxing to outpoint Lopez comfortably. He just has to avoid getting caught on the fence or conceding any takedowns.
Yeah, we're on the same page. All right. By the way, MMA Locker Room's convinced you sound like Clint. I don't know if I see it.
I gotta be honest, I've never listened to the guy's podcast, so I don't have a good or bad thing to say about him one way or the other, but
I think Clint's a good dude. I think that he chases way too many dogs. I know we picked a lot of dogs on the show, but it's yeah.
Well, I only bet parlays, so in that sense, I'm just as crazy.
I know some people think that like parlays are losing proposition, and I know they're like technically minus EV, but I know you've had a lot of success with them too, right?
If you watch my appearance on the Gambler's Perspective, Yanni really tries to dive in on why I choose to do it that way, and he came away liking the things that I said on there. Good stuff. If you subscribe to UFC Fight Pass, go check out what I said on there about parlay betting, a parlay only betting strategy, and maybe you'll come away convinced, or you'll think I'm just as insane.
Fair enough. Let's get to the next fight here.
I wanted to make a really dirty joke, but I'm not going to do it. I'll keep it.
All right.
I can handle it.
What's it about you? So no. What's it about you?
Let's get this train moving, guys. We're at an hour and 20 minutes. So this fight, it actually might be before. I don't know what the final bout order would be, but we'll just say this fight between Billy Ray Goff and Ramiz Brahimaj goes in this spot. Again, it might go before this. I think it will be main card. Billy Ray Goff's a big favorite, minus 340. Ramiz Brahimaj plus 270. I got to be honest with you, I don't have a lot of thoughts about this fight. It was super short notice. It's two guys that they lost their opponents to visa issues. Now the other opponents, Ko and Oban Elia, are fighting each other.
Go by your gut feeling, dude. Stop complaining.
I don't know. This fight's weird. I talked to George about this last night. I capped Goff as a small favorite. He's a pretty big favorite.
Goff opened at minus 500, which is insane.
I think even minus 340, it seems high to me. I mean, here's the thing with Ramiz, though. It's is he going to knock Goff out? Goff's pretty durable, so I don't know. And then Ramiz doesn't win decisions, so I think that Goff would have the better durability. He's more of a dog, I would think. I picked Brahimaj against Gall. He was an underdog. I think Marcel did. I can't remember, but I remember I picked him. Yeah, we were happy about that. It was a nice dog pick, but I don't know. I mean, I think he's got a chance here, maybe to catch Goff, maybe. But again, I'm just staying away from this one. I'm taking Goff. You know what? I'll probably take him to even finish the fight late in the fight because I think he does have better cardio and weaponize that. But minus 340, no thanks for a short notice fight. It's too weird. George, you have the same thoughts, or?
Yeah, I like Goff here, but I hate the price that he's at. I would say that it's probably wise to just stay away. I even as somebody that picked Mickey Gall to beat Brahimaj, and I did it largely on the basis that the guy had never won a fight by knockout and he had never won a fight by decision. So if he doesn't submit Gall, what's his path to victory? And then he goes out on, and knocks Mickey Gall out in the first round. So with a one punch knockout to the temple. I mean, so there's going to be a lot of people that claim that loss was a fluke. I think, give the guy credit for going out there and doing that. And I think he's a Fortis MMA guy too, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have pretty decent amount of respect for that gym. So I think that even with the, I know that he had the spinal surgery setback, I think, which is why he missed a couple of years and then didn't look great against Garimbo, but then, kind of salvages the little momentum he's got left in his career with that win over Mickey Gall. I think that that's a win that he can build off of, but not with this matchup. I like Goff a lot. I picked him to beat Waters. I was frankly very upset that I think at least one, maybe two of the judges scored that fight 30-27 for Waters when it felt a lot more competitive than that.
It was a good fight too. Very competitive.
I thought it should have at least been a split decision, but in any event, I do like Goff here. I'm going to say that he wins a 29-28 because Brahimaj's only ever been knocked out in the third round, so he's fairly durable.
It was a cut stoppage too, or his ear actually fell off, right?
Oh,
his ear actually,
gosh.
It was against Max Griffin, right?
That guy has just mangled his body.
Marcel, did his ear actually fall off, or he cut it in half? What happened again?
No, it was almost ripped off.
Yeah, it was fucked. It was bad.
That's
Marcel,
crazy.
are you taking Goff too, or are you going to take a shot on your boy?
When he was talking about Gorimbo, I was thinking about I've heard George, you said like Gorimbo was wrestling him the whole fight, and after the fight, Tamba was in my DMs and he was like, I completely dominated your boy on the ground. I was like, what the hell? And he's like, yeah, you said on the podcast that he was gonna get me to the ground and be better than me on the ground, but I showed you I'm better on the ground.
That's crazy because if you watch the end of that fight, he literally goes over to, I think, Sean Shelby, and he's like apologizing to him for the way that he fought.
And then he unfollowed Marcel on Instagram after that too.
Oh man, doesn't he listen to this show?
He did. Now he doesn't.
He listens to everything that is of him on the podcast, because last time against Vicente Luca we picked them both, and then I got a DM from him. It's like, good, you picked me. I like it. So he fucking listens to everything what's about it.
Why does he care? I'd be focused on like training.
He's a very how do you say that? Very nice guy to talk to. So it's no problem, you know.
Are you taking the dog here or no?
I'm taking Reese. Wow. I think.
No, to be fair to Marcel, the odds are pretty crazy. I think.
Yeah.
Honestly. Plus 270 on your boy Ramise, who doesn't answer your DMs. He's still your boy though.
Yeah, for sure. But the thing is, like, I mean, I think he can get the stoppage win in the first round. You know, The thing is, I understand people picking Goff because Goff has probably more durability and he can win a decision here. You know.
Yeah.
So, but I'm gambling here that Ramise can get the stoppage. If he doesn't get the stoppage, Goff wins this fight. I'm pretty sure. You know, and Goff has looked pretty good. You know, in the UFC, I got to say, he knocked out the Kinoshita guy in Singapore, and that Waters fight was the fight of the night. Yeah, and the Waters fight was fight of the night. He lost that one, but it was a fight of the night. Yeah. And Ramise is hit or miss, you know.
He's literally win and loss. I think, I think it's supposed to be a loss, right? By
if you go off with the pattern, for sure. I'm picking Ramise. I gotta do it, you know, but I'm not far from sure. So don't trail my pick here.
Marcel has picked a ton of dogs, and you gotta respect the balls on this fucking guy, man.
You know what? Goff has an 0-0 submission record. So if you're making a case for Brahim, I mean, he clearly has the submission upside in terms of that outcome in this fight. So I don't think it's totally far fetched, but it's part of the reason I'm staying away from it.
Yeah, I agree. All right. By the way, this was he was on the show like 2 weeks ago.
It was the most recent episode because they didn't do one last week. So if you go on Fight Pass and look up the Gambler's Perspective, I'm up there with Kalikas and Yanni the Greek, and they usually only talk to their guests for like 10 or 15 minutes, but much in the same way that this episode of MMAOB's gone a little long, they let me go a little bit long too because they enjoyed talking to me, and I'm very grateful to them for that, as I am to you guys.
We appreciate you coming on, man. By the way, the card, the 290, the one I went to, that's when I met up with Nick and Johnny. We all had dinner together. It's too bad and James was there too, of course. As you know,
one day we're all going to make it out to Vegas, and Marcel, and I know you guys have talked about getting Marcel out there.
We got to get this guy on a plane. He's never been on a plane. We got to get him on a plane. We're all going to go to Vegas. We're going to get Marcel. We're going to take him to a strip club and get some tits in his face because he needs it. So let's do it.
What's wrong with you, dude?
What's wrong with you, dude? All right, let's get some comments.
The dirty jokes are mine, dude.
Okay. Do you guys believe in flukes? Marcel does, because Marcel is still convinced. Marcel will still send me, George, he'll send me WhatsApp messages. He'll be like, dude, Alexander Hernandez, that fucking fluke win over Beneil Dariush. All these years later, still eating Marcel alive. That's a fluke, right, Marcel? That's what you said?
For me, that was, because a lot of people were like, oh, he's going to do amazing now. And it's actually probably been his best win, So and nothing against Alexander Hernandez. I don't hate him, but I didn't like he also, when Dariush was trying to reach out to touch gloves, I think he attacked him or anything.
Fair enough.
You want to talk about fluke wins? I know a fighter whose name rhymes with Bodie Crundage, who's had more than a couple of them in his MMA career. So.
Including that one against Zachary, which you lost some money on, right?
The Malkoon fight too.
I mean,
that was inexplicable.
I think I had Malkoon in a parlay. I'm okay, and he's just dominating the fight, and then back of the head, and then Cody's like dying in the octagon. It's like, dude, what the? And I like Cody too. I know he's got his daughter's like ill, and he's got dealing with that. It's not easy to deal with, but so I have a soft spot for him. But man, the amount of like no contest this guy has, and like it's just weird, man.
I told Marcel I wouldn't speak ill of him the rest of the podcast, so I had to allude to him without actually invoking his name.
And if I was Abdul Razak's getting destroyed, and that it's no contest. Abdul's not even in the UFC now. It's just so weird to me.
Yeah. Was it a groin kick or was it another hit at the back? I think it was another back of the head.
Yeah. It's funny. There's another Billy Ray Cyrus. Yeah, I think it just used to be Billy Goff, and now it's Billy Ray Goff. So,
this is the achy breaky heart, dude.
Yeah. Recommend the Palomino Club. I don't know, wherever. I don't even go to strip clubs. I haven't been to one.
I've heard Canadian strip clubs have quite a rep themselves.
I haven't been to
Vegas is probably tame by comparison.
George, I was 19, we used to go, but I haven't been in 15 years probably.
And George, first he's talking about strip clubs, and now he hasn't been in 15 years. You know,
I've been to a couple. I don't know if I might have told the story, but I remember we went for one of my friend's birthdays.
You went to a swingers club, right?
Never been to one of those. My friend turned 19, so this is actually kind of funny. A few of my friends were like 19. I was actually 18, but they all wanted to go to the strip club, and they're like, "You got to come with us." So I'm like, "All right." So there was this. I'm Greek and I'm Canadian. This guy that we knew was an Italian dude. He had like jerry curls and he had glasses. So he's like, "Yo, you can use my ID." So I used this guy's ID. This guy Frankie Calora. That's his name. Hey Frankie, what's up, man? I haven't seen this dude in 20 years. He gave me his ID. I mean, I shouldn't even tell this guy. Watch the Po come after me, man. The Popo. But no, it's funny. Like he gave me his ID and I went to the door and I had my glasses on, so I didn't really look like him, but I had the glasses. And the guy that takes the ID, he's looking at me. He's like, "What's your date of birth? What's your address?" He's like, "Okay." He's like, "All right." He's like, "Give me 1 sec." He's like, I'm like staying there. I'm like, "Oh shit!" All my friends went in. They're looking at me like, "You're on your own, buddy." Right? Guy comes out with the manager, and the manager's looking at me. He's like, he puts his arm around me. He's like, "Come in, man. Come and have a drink. Come on and have a good time."
They were like, "This guy's gonna spend money here. We can let him."
They knew it wasn't me. They knew it wasn't me, George. I didn't look anything like this guy. I just had the glasses on. I memorized his address and his. Anyways, I didn't do anything crazy, but I remember we went in, and then a friend of mine at the time, I haven't talked to this guy again in like a long time, but he looks exactly like Jay from Jay and Silent Bob. So my buddy rented a room in the back because it was his birthday. We all went to the back. This stripper came up to him and she goes, "Oh my God, he looks just like Jay from Jay and Silent Bob." And she fucking took her bra or bikini top, whatever, right off, ripped it open, and started shoving her tits in this guy's face. And Buddy's just on the cover. She's like, yeah. We're all like 19 years old. This is fucking hilarious. We're all like dying laughing, man. It was so awesome. And then my friend, the guy whose birthday was, he ended up falling in love with the stripper. He ended up, he spent all this money on her. Then he took her out for dinner after at like 6 a.m. with this chick. And he's just messaging me after. He's like, "Dude, I'm in love with this chick." And I'm like, "Dude, she just wants your fucking money." So, yeah. By the way, I just got a notification that we're getting close to the time limit for the free plan here on EV Muck. So let's get through the last couple of fights. But I have to tell that story because I think it was a good story. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. But yeah, that was like 20 years ago. So I think the statute of limitations ran out on that one, George, a long time ago. But yeah, they let me in. It was a good time. Anyways, let's get to the last two fights. Last two fights. All right, let's get to the co-main event. I think this is one of the best fights of the card. And I'm kind of with George. Like, I think this could have been a 5-round fight, Mateusz Gamrot against Ludovic Klein. Great fight. Odds. -175 Mateusz, +145 Ludovic. Go ahead, George. Give your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this should be the main event over Blanchfield Barber, as I spoke about earlier, even though I don't think it has as many title implications. So I'm sure he has probably listened to this show a little bit previously. Our guy Marcus of the Nubian Bookstore, who advocated for me to be on the Gambler's Perspective, and then also reached out to me last week and was asking me what my thoughts were about this fight. So I ran this one actually before any of the other ones to try to get a better sense of what was going on. I advocated staying away from Gamrot's last fight against Hooker because I noticed that this guy in like half of all of his UFC appearances, he suffered a knockdown in all of them, even though he's never been technically finished yet in his MMA career. So the time is coming. Somebody is going to take this guy's chin. I don't know if Klein's going to be the guy to do it. He certainly hits hard enough to do it. He's impressive enough in the striking to do it. His takedown defense looks really good, but Klein has not faced any opponent yet that has the same kind of approach that Gamrot does in terms of the relentless pressure to put the fight on the floor. And even though Klein has all these submission wins before he got in the UFC and has the appearance of being well-rounded, we haven't really seen that well-rounded skill set show up in the UFC yet. And this guy gave away a round to Roosevelt Roberts when he was like a minus 1,000 favorite because Roberts was able to get a little bit better of him when the fight did go to the floor. And that kind of stalling out is one of the reasons why I ended up taking the over in that fight at plus money, and it ended up going to decision because I thought Roberts was going to be able to cancel out Klein's ground game enough that the fight was going to get extended. If this fight goes to the floor, and I can't imagine it's not going to based on how relentless Gamrot is, I think he's going to at least get a 29-28 here. So I'm picking Gamrot by decision. I wish there was a prop you could pick for like Gamrot suffers a knockdown and still wins, because I think that's exactly what's going to happen. He'll get knocked down in one of the first two rounds, still end up winning the third in one of the first two, and he gets a 29-28 decision win.
And Marcel, you have the same pick, or are you going with the dog again?
Listen, I know already who you're going to pick, but and this one I'm with George as well. Thought long about it, to be honest. I think there's a possibility that if Klein wins, but we all know how Gamrot fights, and I'm also thinking that at least he wins 2 out of 3 rounds, to be honest. So I think it plays in Gamrot's favor. This is a 3-round fight and not a 5-round fight.
I agree.
And Gamrot for me by decision. That's my pick.
No, I mean, like I'll be honest. Initially, I thought I was going to pick Klein as a dog, but I've been thinking about it too, and like I have to go with Gamrot, man. I just think the level of competition is so significantly better in his favor. Like he's fought much better fighters, and he's been competitive with most of them. Has wins over guys like Arman, which is such a good win. And with Ludovic, I mean, I think he's looked good. I think he's, like you said, the takedown defense looks incredible. I mean, the numbers are there and it looks good in the cage, but. I just think with Gamrot, like he's one of these guys, he'll keep pushing, like he'll keep pressing against the fence. He'll drag him to the ground if he has to, and just hold him there. And if he gets back up, he'll drag him down again. I would consider, even though the takedown defense is high, I think it's possible Klein gets taken down and gets right back up. I would maybe look for some Gamrot takedown props potentially, because I think he will get takedowns, but Klein will spring back up. But I think it could be damage versus control, but I still think like the control will just be so much more in his favor that the judges can't go against him in this fight. So go ahead.
Can I ask George something?
Sure.
Yeah. Have you been to a strip? No, just kidding. I wanted to know. What did you?
I have not.
No, I was just kidding. The Gamrot against Hooker. What did you think win the fight?
I think that you probably I think you could have scored it for either guy, but I would think that you got to give it to Hooker based on damage. I don't have a problem with giving it to either of them, though.
Okay.
I think if that's not in Australia, it could have went the other way potentially. I think that the fans check and the judges again, promotional incentive, George, as you've talked about. I like that term. I'm using it a lot now. But even you saw with Tai Tuivasa against Rozenstruik on the card, yeah, right? That was on the same card. Crazy.
And the last thing I just want to say, because you invoked the takedown defense set, which is 91%.
Yeah, it's incredible. It looks good too, right? It looks good.
Peter Yan had 92% takedown defense going into his fight with Merab, and look how that played out. So it's not the end-all, be-all for every matchup. Yeah,
no, I agree. All right, let's get to the last fight here, guys. We have the main event between Erin Blanchfield and Macy Barber. It's a 5-round fight, women's flyweights. The winner, potentially could get a title shot if they look amazing. I still think Natalia probably gets it, but we'll see. If someone looks incredible in this fight, they may be able to pass her up. The odds for this one are pretty much in Blanchfield's favor, minus 238, Erin Blanchfield, Macy Barber, plus 195. George, I'll let you start on this one. Thanks again for being our guest today, man. You get the final thought on the main event, and then Marcel and I will go. Go ahead.
Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. That being said, there's no way I would give the winner of this fight a title shot over Marcel's girl, Natalia Silva. I taped this one. I didn't get to rewatch Nama Yunus versus Blanchfield because there's some fights that aren't currently available on Fight Pass for some reason or another. But I had honestly forgotten how impressive Blanchfield's win over Talia Santos was. If I told you, so Blanchfield was favored over Santos going into that fight. If I told you that Blanchfield was going to go 0 for 14 on takedowns before that fight happened, who would you have guessed would have won that fight?
I don't know. Maybe Santos, right?
Yeah, and she won. Everybody scored it clearly 29-28,
Yeah.
and she gave away the first round to Santos in that
Yeah.
fight. She also gave away the first 2 rounds to Namajunas and had
Mhm.
to win the last 15 minutes unanimously in order to get that win. So she's clear. I mean, she's got really good success, not only going the distance, but also even when she gets behind in fights, she's proven that she can will herself back into it, even without getting takedowns and putting it, on her best terms on the floor. I think Macy's clearly got the knockout upside in this fight just because, I mean, she's really dangerous with the elbows. I would like her. Like, I don't know if she's still dating Yusuf Salal, but I think
No, she's with some other guy now, I think.
okay. I was going to say, well, then there's no way she's going to Factory X in that case if she already broke up with Salal, because I think that gym would be better for improving her
I
striking.
don't think that
than
lasted long,
Ultimate.
man. I think they broke up pretty quick.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
fair enough.
unfortunately.
In any event, I think Blanchfield's clearly got the submission upside, but she's got 5-round experience and Barber doesn't. Barber's coming in having not fought in over a year. We just saw Blanchfield beat a former champ going 5 rounds. I think that Blanchfield's probably going to give away the first round here to Barber, but she ends up taking the last 4 rounds and gets a 49-46 decision.
Marcel, what do you think?
Yeah, man. I actually somebody on YouTube replied to my comment I posted under a James Lynch video 2 or 3 years ago, where I posted like Aaron Blanchfield would do bad things to Macy Barber if they fought. So now that fight is actually happening. The thing is, like, so many people are so high on Macy Barber. What's her best win? Probably Amanda Ribas.
On the Hivas,
right?
A lot of people think she lost to Andrea Lee.
Yeah, it was close.
Yeah, she definitely should have lost to Miranda Maverick in that fight, in my opinion. And she won against Ketlen Sarminara, but I think Sarminara is not really into the game anymore.
By the way, I think that Julian Robertson win has aged really well too. That's another one.
But that's been fucking years ago, man. Okay. So it's but I don't take that really into thought, to be really honest. But it's a good win, definitely. I agree with you. I mean, I haven't been impressed by Macy Barber so far, to be really honest. Besides that Ribas fight was really good. The Blanchfield, I've always been like a Blanchfield, like Blanchfield. I feel like she has a lot of talent. Her striking is getting better, but it's definitely not there yet, in my opinion. Her grappling is pretty good, I think. The only fight she clearly lost was against Furo, Manon Furo. She had no chance in that. She was like out-muscled, out-striking, even out-grappled in that one. So, I mean, she looked really bad in that fight. The Tracy Cortez lost early in her career. I think she won that fight, to be honest. But whatever. Last fight against Rose, she also she showed she could come back from adversity, because she had trouble in the beginning. She adjusted and she won the fight. And to be honest, I think the winner of this fight probably fights Natalia Silva, because this UFC bitch is going to make Shevchenko wait Willy. So, yeah, I'm picking Blanchfield, and I'm pretty convinced, man, that she wins. I'm picking her by decision as well. I think Macy will maybe win 1 round, but I think Blanchfield overall is the better fighter. So, yeah, no doubt in my mind, Aaron Blanchfield. We're not going to go through the Macy parlay here.
I still remember when we had that discussion. That fight never happened. It was Norma Dumont against Aaron Blanchfield.
Yeah.
That was, and I think it was at women's featherweight, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
And I was like, Marcel, she's going to be so much bigger, dude. And you're like, no, Aaron's amazing. And then Aaron goes to the UFC, looks amazing at 125. But, Norma was a big girl. She's a big girl. That dump truck, I don't know how she cuts to 125. But I don't know, guys. Honestly, hit the button for me. I know I'm crazy on this one, but I'm taking a dog. I'm taking a dog shot. I like Macy lately. I think she's looked good, 6 straight wins and tons of momentum her way, tons of confidence. And I think, if you look at the number, I mean, the 53% takedown defense, it's not good. I mean, there's no doubt. I'm not going to deny that, because it's right there. I use it in other fights. Takedown defense is bad. Look at the numbers. And it's not good. And like you said, the Andrea Lee fight, she got taken down. It wasn't good, but it was 2 years ago. And she is still a young fighter. I mean, Aaron's young too, but so is Macy. 20. She just turned 27 last week. So still super, super young. I think that she's just physically very strong and hard to deal with. I think she's going to prove to be difficult to take down this fight. And I could be wrong, but I think she's going to make it tougher than people think, based on the numbers, especially to get taken down. Even if she does, I think she can get back up. On the feet, I just think she's light years better. I really do, man. Typically, I would lean towards the grappler, but I'm kind of leaning the striker in this fight. And also, I don't know if she finishes Aaron, but I think she would have more of the knockout upside. I could be crazy on this one, but I think this fight is a lot closer to like a pick 'em odds, man. Plus 195. Holy shit, I'm definitely taking a shot.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Fair enough. Like, you know what though? Like, I again, it's kind of like you and Ramiz. Like, I think the odds are off personally. So, I'll put my balls on the table here, Marshall. I'll put.
You definitely put your balls on the table if you see Macy. You nasty fuck.
Yeah, I know. No, she's not into like scrubs like we do. She's only into like fit like UFC fighters.
Yusuf Zalal wasn't even good enough for her.
Apparently not. Actually, I think the guy she was. I don't know if he's still with him, but he was like a LFA guy or something. I can't remember.
She's with a flyweight fighter from LFA. I think.
Yeah, George. She's with a minor league fighter. So there you go, man.
Maybe he will be to the UFC soon. Who knows?
Shoot your shot. All right, let me really quickly go over the recap and we'll get out of here because we're going to run out of time and I still have to do a podcast with Marcel to talk about the fight announcement. So, really quick here, guys. I'll run it down. Excuse me. First fight, Marcel and I took Dos Santos, and dog pick was for George Ardelean.
Don't bet that. Don't bet it.
Consensus dog here, triple consensus. We had Mederos. George and I took Leavitt. Marcel took Holobaugh. Marcel took Giles as a dog. George and I took Andreas Gustafsson. We all had Macy Chiasson as a small favorite. Did we? No, George and I had Filho as a dog, right? I think
that's
that
right.
was it.
Yeah.
And Marcel took Nascimento.
Yeah.
We all had Reese as a favorite. We all had Jacoby as a favorite. We all had Gamera as a favorite. George and Marcel took Blanchfield. I took Barber as a dog. So I think we all had like four dogs, I want to say. Crazy. So let me count it up. I had 1, 2.
Man, we might.
I think I had 3, and you guys had 4.
3 dogs. Sorry, 3.
We might get a visit all from Luana Santos.
By the way, I forgot. I took Goff.
Awesome.
George took Goff. Marcel took Rahimai. Sorry. What were we saying? We're gonna get a visit from who?
I said we might all get the visit of Luana Santos. So many dogs.
Have you seen that dog video, George? It's not.
I've seen references to it, but I haven't seen it.
Don't watch it. It's weird. It's just creepy. Anyways, I'm looking forward to the card now more than I was an hour and a half ago. So, again, George, appreciate you coming on, man. Check out George at MMA Racks on Twitter and check out his appearance on Gambler Perspective. Marcel and I will be back in a minute. We're going to do some fight announcements for just like 10 minutes probably. But once again, appreciate you guys joining us and stay around for a few minutes if you want to do the fight announcements. If not, back next week, we'll do the preview for UFC 316. We got our boy Zach, likes MMA. He's going to join us. Talk about that card as well next week. So appreciate it once again, George, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, and thanks for letting me. I know we went a little long, but
that's okay. No worries. We're glad to have you, man.
I'll gladly be back anytime you guys want me. It's been really fun.
Appreciate it.